Fantastical, magical, super awesome people. The internet's it's Love Beer Radio time. Took last week off. No, we didn't even tell you that we're taking off. Joe is all rip rare
Just
and ready to
nothing.
go. Nothing, leaving you hanging, flapping in the fucking wind. Joe is rip rare and ready to go.
We keep you guessing here.
Yeah. Yeah, in more ways than one. We keep ourselves guessing. Yeah. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Yes. Joe is ripper and ready to go. I woke up and I felt a little bit under the weather, so I decided to take the week off. And lo and behold, I wake up today and I feel even shittier, but I can't take 2 weeks off in a row. So here I am.
A 2-week vacation on something we do for an hour.
Yeah. God forbid that ever happens. What would happen? What would happen? They'd send out APBs on us.
They would.
So yeah, here we are. Matt from Massive Beers and all kinds of other shit, and then there's Joe from NEPA Beer Reviews. What's going on, dude?
Not too much. I'm gonna go turn on another light so I don't look like I'm sitting here half in the dark.
Right yeah. That's
just kind of like realize that now.
Yeah,
we only sat around for like 20 minutes before we went live.
Yeah, so this is our pre-Thanksgiving kind of show here going on. So we're just gonna sit here. Me and Joe are going to talk about We're gonna talk about breweries being gobbled up, buyout, all that shit that everybody talks about. Whenever there's a merger or acquisition or partnership, that's all anybody talks about. But we've never, while we've talked about it loosely over the months we've been doing this, we've never actually dedicated kind of a show to be talking about it. So we figured we might as well do one. So there you go.
Yeah. I take it you just said what we were talking about today. This suggestion for this episode came from the Brew God, who follows.
The Brew God. I like the Brew God, man. Yeah, the Brew God.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll use your actual name. Thank you, Dave, for being like the one person who, whenever I ask for topics, is like, here's like 2 things for you guys that you can talk about.
He actually mentioned not too long ago, and I never responded because I'm an asshole like that. He mentioned he wanted to come on the show once or eventually, so we'll have him on one day.
Cool.
Yeah, and if you want to check him out on the magic internet, you can. It's the Brew God, and it's the underscore
and
then underscore brew underscore God GAWD.
Yes.
Yeah. See, I know. I don't even have to look. That's how much I know.
I have it up here in case he had his friggin' name on there, so I could instead of just using his Instagram stuff.
Yeah. So what are you drinking?
I am drinking my project brew for this semester out of this lovely unlabeled silver can.
Are you drinking it straight out of can or in the glass out of the can?
It's in the glass. I just have the can readily available. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It's pretty clean. It's also like canning wise, it's fairly fresh, even though I did do this I brewed it almost 2 months ago. And then it was in the fermenter for like 2 weeks. And then I lightly filtered it into kegs and let it sit in the kegs for maybe a month. So not maybe 2 months, maybe about a month and a half that it's been kind of sitting around before I canned it. Not last Monday, but the Monday before. So it's been in the cans for exactly 2 weeks now.
What do you get graded on it?
I have to do some experiments on it. I have to check carbonation volume to see if it's within a good range for barley wine. You see how much oxygen is, how much dissolved oxygen is in the can. Also, I'm going to plate the beer and see if there's any screen for any potential contamination. Facebook message. Yeah, I have to do a couple experiments on it, and then I think for the class that this is actually from, because all those experiments are for another class. The class that this is actually from, I'm honestly, I'm not entirely sure what we have to do for our project beers. Last semester, we had to do like a little write up, saying like how we think the brew day went and what we would do differently next time, or if we were to do this again, and how we think our final beer came out.
Nice.
So I'm assuming that something along those lines is due for that class. But all in all, I'm happy with it. I'm glad that I picked.
Are you confident? Let me ask you this. Well, two things. Are you confident about you think you're going to get a decent? What you made is it a pass fail thing? Is this like you fucked this beer up? You fucked?
Not so much with this one. That was more like last semester. Like if you went to make a fucking Oktoberfest and it wasn't an Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
You could probably got a little bit docked on that. But as far as this goes, because we could have literally done anything under the sun that we wanted to do. We could have added anything to our beers.
Actually, that was my second question before you get any further. Do you have to lock into the style before you brew it? Like, for example, if someone said, "Hey, I'm going to make a fucking Russian Imperial Stout," and it just ends up becoming like a brown ale, and they fucked it up so bad, do they then present it as a brown ale and not present it as a Russian? Like, you have to lock it into the beer that before you actually brew it. Like you're like, okay, I'm going to make a barley wine, but let's say it went so sideways that it wasn't even close to barley wine. Did they know you're making a barley wine or not?
Not really. I think it's then like kind of up to like you could ask like, oh, this went sideways. If you had enough time before our festival, which I'll get into in a second, I would assume you could do it again, like redo it. But I'm really not sure. This was all like, I think. In regards to that, I think it's all timing of when you sign up to actually brew. So I was the first person to brew these project beers. So I had a lot of room to where if something fucked up and it like went sour on me, I could have probably done it again.
No,
another.
That's not my question. My question is, let's say you want to make a style and it came out a totally different style, but still good. Like that's what I mean. Are you going when you do this?
You could probably then rebrand. Like if it came out fine, if it wasn't like completely off, or like completely off, like contaminated or a shit ton of off flavors, you could probably just rebrand it as a.
But and that's my question. Like, was it like, hey, make your project beer? And then you make it, and then your professor doesn't really know what you're making until you present it to him, or is it like, hey, this is the beer I'm making? Then you make the beer, then present it to him. Like, do they even know? I mean, I'm sure they know because you probably talked about it in random. But ultimately, can you pretty much make something without anybody knowing it and present it at the end?
It's kind of hard to do that because they kind of have a pretty good idea of. Just from talking to us, like someone knows what we're doing. It's always like, oh, what are you making for your project? And like, there's a couple people who had like 2 or 3 things that they were going to do. So you have kind of a rough idea, but it's kind of like sign up for a brew day and then you better know what the fuck you're making the day you're supposed to brew. And the only real kind of like heads up is if there's any kind of crazy ingredient that you would need, or you just want to double check and make sure that all of your materials are going to be there.
I got you.
It's like, hey, the week before, I'm like, hey, I'm making a barley wine. I'm going to need a shit ton of malt. Like, do we have like enough maris otter and like enough like pale malt? Or I think I switched. Anyway, like, do we have enough maris otter that I could fucking do this beer? And they're like, yeah, we should. Like, we're getting the shipment in. We should have it. And that's really like the kind of heads up is like, hey, give me your recipe sooner rather than later, so we know that you have the ingredients that you need. You know?
Yeah. No, I got it. I got you. Let me think. Yeah, that's all the questions I have about that. So there you
go.
Cool. Let's see. I had. Can't stop coughing right now. I had one of the best beers I ever had in my life the other day.
Really?
Yeah. And
it was
a 4% fruit beer.
Go on.
So I actually went to like a 2 back-to-back fucking bottle share. My buddy George's house. He had a friend of his, Mike, was in from California. So on Friday we went there, and he's like, "Oh, I want to do like a small little bottle share so he could break out like crazy stuff." And then broke out a bunch of really good beers. I mean, had like like fucking a bunch of crazy stuff, a bunch of like the super New England beers. We had like Fuzzy Baby Ducks and a bunch of Treehouse shit and all kinds of crazy stuff. But then I also had like Chocolate Rain from fucking from the brewery, or not Chocolate Rain, Black Tuesday, and what else do we have? A couple other things, and someone brought a New Glarus fruit beer with them. It was New Glarus Wisconsin Belgian style red. Dude, It was so fucking good. It's not even fucking funny. Like, it's not even funny. I drank it angry. It was that good. I'm like, fuck this beer. This is fucking crazy. Like, I don't even know. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, it was so fucking good. It wasn't even fucking funny. It wasn't even funny. And the thing is, it was like almost like an afterthought. Not an afterthought, but it was just kind of thrown in there, kind of towards the end. Is like, oh, what else do you want to drink? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, oh, let's just open this now. Like, kind of.
Yeah, that
kind of like I forgot how we drank the bourbon barrel aged Siberian Night. It's just like kind of like, oh, let's open this now, even though I knew that we were opening it. You know,
it was so good, dude. It was so good. Immediately to where a guy by the name of, he does beer reviews, more written stuff, and he does photography. Wrote me, I forget his name, Keegan, I think his name is, and he wrote me probably about like 6 months ago, and be like, hey man. I watch your reviews. I dig it. Blah blah blah. He's like, I could always, if you ever want to do like a beer mail, we could do a beer mail. I was like, fuck yeah, man, I could definitely do a beer mail. And then like we talked a couple times, and he's like, okay, he's like, I can get all the New Glarus fruit beers if you want to try those because people tend to like them. I was like, yeah, man, that sounds great to me. But then I tell this to everybody. I've been getting a lot of beer mails lately. I'm like, just so you know, I'm not going to send you a beer mail right away. Like, if you send me one, you're always going to get a beer mail back. But I have so many to send out that it kind of you go in queued. You know what I mean? So I was like, and I don't say it to be like a dick or whatever. I'm like, just so you know, I'm not going to send it out immediately because I got to send out other stuff. I'm like, it just that's how it goes. Do you know what I mean? And then
it's like there's not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, and he wasn't like, I have so much beer, and it wasn't like he wasn't being a dick, and I wasn't being a dick, but it was just like, okay, yeah, no problem, and then just kind of stopped talking, as I do with and sometimes conversations just lose momentum, and then immediately that night when I got home, I was like, hey, dude, and I was like, if you still want to send me those fucking New Glarus beers, go right ahead and do that. Please. You know what I mean? Like.
You can send those off anytime.
Yeah, you can send those anytime I want, and then I come to find out that's like a shelf turd out there. It's like a $7. It's a wax top 750 bombers. They're like $7 a pop, and they're like shelf turds out there. I'm like, yeah, of course they are, because some other dude from Wisconsin's like, yeah, I get whatever I want. I was like, go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like. Literally,
fuck you people.
Yeah, there was literally if I gave that beer to you blind, and I didn't say, here's a beer, drink this. I'm like, here, just drink this. Don't close your eyes, just drink this. And then I'd be like, what are you drinking right now? And you go, I'm drinking the liquid base for Cherry Jolly Ranchers. That's exactly what I'm drinking right now. Exactly. That's exactly what it tasted like. It was so cool. So yeah, I had a really good beer. And then next day we did the other half of the bottle share, and I had all kinds of weird. The one dude I did at the radio show came to that one, and he broke out a lot of the stuff that was like sitting around. I never had their he brought a couple things which are cool. One was it's based on Sam Adams, their Cosmic Mother Funk, like the straight up Cosmic Mother Funk.
Okay, cool.
So that was fucking cool. I mean, I knew it was going to be sour and kind of not my kind of sour, but it was really fun experience. And I had Sam Adams, that 30-day-old beer, the Rebel Raw, their New England Double IPA that they're coming out with. They literally, I guess, just canned it. They canned it, put it in a couple boxes with Mika, and no, so they canned it, but threw it in a box with cold packs and shipped it to my buddy. So like it was like 3 days old. It was fucking awesome. Christ. It was awesome, dude. It was fucking delicious. It was awesome. One of the best, one of the better double IPAs I've ever had.
Wow. Speaking of Sam Adams, 2 or 3 years ago, we went up to the brewery in Boston, and I picked up some of those like barrel room collections with the bottles that look like an oak barrel and they're cork and caged and stuff. So I think the beers that were in there were the American Creek, 13th Hour, and New World Triple. And I remember opening up one of the American Creeks like a couple months after I got it. And I'm like, I don't know about this beer. This isn't that good. Last weekend, when my buddies were down, we opened another one. We opened the other one that I've had sitting there for about 2 or 3 years now. It was fucking great. Honestly, like it took me a minute. It took me a little bit to realize like how good this beer developed. But because I was like, I don't know, like I don't fucking remember this fresh, and like I think it was like, why is this good? This fucking sucked when it was young.
Yeah.
Like, why is this good now?
That's the thing where
and that's another one of the like all those barrel rooms have KMF blended into them.
Yeah. They put it in a lot of stuff. It's in Utopias. It's in like all kinds.
Yeah,
of
it's in like
stuff.
fucking everything.
Yeah,
it's in Boston Lager in a little bit.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Really.
It's weird, man. Like sour beers, time, man. You talk about age and beers. Sometimes, like I always open shit like. Be like, oh, why'd you open that? And be like, because I need to fucking know. I need to fucking know what it tastes like new. I have to, because if I drink it old and it's awesome, or drink it old and it sucks, I need to know if that's why it's awesome or it sucks because of time. I don't need, you know what I mean? Like, you have to have a baseline. So, like, perfect example, one dude sent me all the Hair to Dog beers, and he's like, oh, a couple of those I'd really recommend cellaring. And I'm like, I'm sure you would, and I'm sure I would love to sell them, but I'm going to drink them now. Because I need to know, because let's say down the line, if I do get that year, then I have a baseline. You know what I mean? So, and that was like, and that's like this weekend on the radio show we did the Rare Barrel. You ever have anything from them or hear them?
I haven't had anything from them. I've heard of them.
All sour stuff, and like it was really good stuff. Like, you know me, I'm not a big sour guy, but it was really nice beers. The last two we did 1, 2, 3. We did 6 beers, and the last 2 were waxed ones, and they were nice. But you could tell they put wax on them for a reason. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they were new, like they were a couple months old, but they were very nice. But you could tell, okay, you know that's like basic rule of thumb, people. If it comes with wax on it, most of the time, if it comes with wax on it or it comes in a box, they don't let it fucking sit. Man, you know what I mean? That's pretty much the baseline rule. I mean, some stuff they wax just to make it look fucking pretty. You know what I mean?
Like, you could I think you could tell, like in that case.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, I see what you're getting at here, guys.
Yeah. Speakeasy. But seriously, they wax everything. They make like a non-alcoholic beer. They wax it. I have 3 bottles of Speakeasy stuff, and not one of them's waxed. Yeah, all the stuff I usually see, a lot of stuff from them I see more now than before are waxed.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what it is. Whatever. Fair
enough.
So yeah, I'm trying to think anything else. Did you have any other weird or cool beers lately?
I could talk about, since we missed last weekend when I was going to talk about bringing my friends down.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
About that now.
Yeah.
So last weekend, two of my friends from school came. I brought them home, and on our way, we stopped at. We just basically drank like the entire weekend, which was, not a bad thing.
No, and
So,
that was kind of the plan, though, wasn't it?
What?
That was kind of the plan.
It really was the plan. So first stop, we go to Endless Brewing. I had never been there before. I know you have, right?
Well, for people who don't know, Endless Brewing, small brewery close to us, middle of fucking nowhere. But
yes, middle of nowhere. I drove up to the place. And I'm like, is this fucking it?
It's a shed, but they got their
reviewed their grasshopper on the show.
Yeah, their cleanliness is like on lock.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really nice place. Like we walk in the door and there's like 6 or 8 bourbon barrels just like immediately in front of us. Then there's like this nice little cozy bar and a plastic picnic table from, I would only assume, was the local hardware store or Walmart. But all of their beers were very good. There were a couple that just, like, we weren't just super into, but overall, their beers were really good. I liked we ended up bringing home 2 growlers. One was of their honey amber, which was just an amber ale, and they either did 2 separate batches or split the batch, and added local honey to the one, which is the one that we got, and then also apricot puree to the other, and that was very good as well. Then we got their Belgian Pale Ale, and I'm not typically a fan of Belgian style other thing, like Belgian yeast in other stuff, if I'm not expecting it to be a Belgian, if that makes any sense. But that was really good, and I think it's because it didn't have any of the banana tones that you can get with those kinds of yeasts. I'm not a fan of like banana flavored anything. Then their porter, or there was their porter or stout. I don't know. It was something with coffee in it, and that was real good as well. So we pretty much had we got. The way you could do it is you could buy 1 full pint of something, or 2 half pints. So like glasses that are maybe yay big. So we did that. The dogs don't like my form of measuring
they're not impressed.
Apparently, yeah, not impressed at all. Anyway, so we got 2.
You talk. I gotta go downstairs. Hold on.
We ordered like 2 of just about everything. One of everything, and then we got a taster of the one beer that we didn't order. So we got to try everything that they had on tap, which was really nice. And we're just like kind of sharing it around. And then we got to see the brew house, which was, like Matt said, their cleanliness is like on lockdown. Like everything seems to be in its proper place. Like for them, like all of their clamps and stuff are hung up. Everything was ordered, like in some semblance of order. They looked like they were doing maintenance on something at the time, but like everything was kind of where it should be. And for being basically a brewery in a barn, it was like remarkably clean.
You still talking about Endless?
Yeah, I'm still talking about Endless.
Yeah. The last time, I think I mentioned this, one of the shows we did, is that first time I went there, I was kind of underwhelmed by their beers. They were just shut up, my dogs, I hate them. They're just off or something. And
well, they had recently just upgraded system.
They just upgraded their system, yeah. So I dawned on me, I'm like, oh, this is why they're a little bit off, because they just upgraded they even said the one beer they had was a mistake because they got way too much. They got too much of a yield off of it or something like that. And they were just like, yeah, it was like,
I think it came out too higher than they were expecting. Like the extract came out like they got more sugar.
They got way more. They got so much more efficiency out of the new mash tun. Basically, is what happened. So they have a Belgian, like, it's called it's like they do what's called a triple bombshell, which is like a Belgian style triple, and they just end up calling it nuclear bombshell because it ended up being like 13% or some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So after we left there, and driving into New York and then back into Pennsylvania for the third time that day, we went to Three Guys and a Beard. Unfortunately, we couldn't get into the brewery at Three Guys. Matt wasn't around, and as I found out the next day, Johnny was taking a nap when I texted him, so he missed my text. But we got to go to their tap room, which was very nice. Some of the beers had some issues going on, but overall, their beers were pretty good. I had a new double IPA from them that was, I think, really, really solid. Had a nice citrus and nice kind of pine to it, which was, not too bad. I had Martin and Ian were my friends that came down as I pull my headphones and rip my iPad. They got a flight of stuff, and I just got a pint of the double IPA. Then after that, we just went to my house and had some beers in the down in my bar. Then the next day, the third brewery that we went to was Breaker. I didn't realize that Breaker was at the Electric City Brewfest.
yes.
I didn't like, as I looked at the list of breweries, and for some reason they weren't on there at all. Like they're usually like, I'm like, all right, I'm going alphabetical here. I'm like, nope, I'm not seeing Breaker on here. I'm like, oh, maybe they're not there this time. So we went there. Again, because they were at the festival, couldn't get in to see the brewery there. But we got to try a bunch of their beers. They had their barley wine that they added wine must to, and that was really interesting. But probably the winner of the day was their Citra IPA, and I wanted to get a growler of it, but it kicked when I went to get my growler filled, so I had to settle with their Mosaic IPA.
Aww.
I know, beer geek
for you.
Yeah. I know. Then we went to the Electric City Brewfest, which was interesting. We tried a bunch of different things as you do at festivals, and there were some new breweries. One is Irving Cliff out of Honesdale. Yeah.
How? What were they all about? I'm curious.
They had a cider thing, and then some kind of high gravity beer. I don't know exactly what they were calling it, but it was 13%, and I could tell you right now, it wasn't fucking 13%. Tasted like fucking water. And I'm like, now keep in mind, this was kind of how the night progressed. We go in the way that they had it. It was at the Montage Mountain Ski Resort, and for people who don't know, Montage Mountain is as I just said, our ski slopes. It's right around Scranton, if you know that area of Pennsylvania. So the building that I'm only assuming is their ski rentals and like ski shop had Breaker, North Slope, Irving Cliff, and I believe Shangy's was in there as well. So all the accounts that Shangy's has, or not all the accounts, but the accounts that
were repped by Shangy's.
Are repped by Shangy's up here, were there. So
Dry Leg was there, wasn't it?
I didn't see jet lag.
Anyway, I was just curious. I thought they
Yeah.
were. Anyway.
Anyway, so first stop was Breaker, because they were in that building like right as you walked into the festival. So had to get some of their Mine Fire, which is their blackberry jalapeno ale. That was great. And then after that, I just kind of left. Like nothing else in the building interested me. So we left and went over to the other building, which had like the LT Verastro area, Northeast Eagle. I think Ace was in there as well.
And for people who don't know, Joe is rattling off distributors because distributors kind of rule the roost in Pennsylvania, so they run the beer shows. Festivals in PA suck, is basically what I'm saying. Anyway, go ahead.
They suck. They suck and they're good. One, you don't have to worry about tokens, but at the same time, you don't particularly get much interesting things. With the exception of my probably winner for the day was Rusty Rails Wolf King Warrior Stout. I fucking love that stuff.
Well, that's the thing. The only interesting stuff you get is from the local places.
They were in the LT Verastro area. They're under those guys.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they're local.
I know, like local guys that will actually bring the beers themselves to this festival are the interesting ones. Yeah. But
because LT Verastro is Nimble Hill, right? And so is three guys. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 Guys in a Beard, Rusty Rail, and Nimble Hill are all under LT Verastro right now. Nimble Hill had a breakfast stout. It was like another one of their Mysteria at a fucking number, at a something point, whatever number after it. But it was a breakfast stout, and it was very good. I haven't really had a whole I went through a little I went up to Nimble Hill once, had a bunch of stuff, then have literally not had any of their things again. And I think I went to a festival and had some of their stuff, but this was like the first time in a long time that I had Nimble Hill.
I had Nimble Hill stuff. I reviewed a couple of things. I did review their Turbo Diesel, which is a Russian Imperial Stout aged in grape barrels or red wine grape.
Port
wine barrels, I believe. The bottle I got kind of sucked balls, but then I had it on draft. It was much better. But then when I actually checked it on the tap, they got pissed because I didn't give it a great score. I said it was too small of a beer for the size of the barrel. And they took offense to that, so they're not fans. But their Nimwit, which is just a Belgian wit. I'm a big fan of that. That's kind of like a session beer for me. And
I think that's what I got when I went there. I got a growler, like my Nimble Hill growler. I got it filled with that.
And I've been there once, but I've never actually been there. And by that I mean, I was going when I was getting my passport to go to Canada last year. I had to go to Tunkhannock to get my passport, and that's where they are. I literally pulled up, turned my car off, undid my seatbelt, and then someone texted me, and I had to go. So I went there, but I never got out of my car. I stopped and then just drove away. So I was like, okay. I was like, technically I was there, but not really. So then you did the festival.
We did the festival. Then we went home. We went back to my place for a little bit. Had some pizza. Had to show the guys Old Forge pizza.
Oh man, that sucks for them.
I know, right?
Yeah, why did you do that to them? You should be nice. You should have got them real pizza.
You don't like Old Forge pizza?
No, I don't like Old Forge pizza. Who the fuck likes Old Forge? Old Forge pizza is let me put it this way. I get
pizza. Honestly, because
listen, Old Forge pizza is like Old Forge pizza is the real pizza that Olive Garden is the Italian food. You know what I mean? It's just it is. But here's the thing. Yeah. Sometimes I want Olive Garden. You know what I mean? Not because I want really good Italian food. So it should be called pizza.
Some of the pizzas aren't too bad up there.
For people that are listening, don't know, Old Forge pizza is basically typically shitty dough with American cheese on it and some kind of craptastic sauce in between, and onions. Is that pretty much how you break down fucking Old Forge pizza?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure you rose-colored glass it a little bit more than I am, but it's not pizza.
Yeah, no.
Like you could have taken
Honestly,
them to
like if
as a Canadian, you owed it to them to bring them to a legit pizza place.
as a Canadian me.
No, as you having Canadians is like showing your hosts having the Canadians come down. Like you should have been like if I went to fucking I don't know fucking if I went to Italy again, I'm gonna beat a dead horse here. If I went to Italy and someone's like, oh, give me some Italian food, and they take me to fucking Carrabba's or Olive Garden. You know what I mean? It's like, why would you do that? You had someone from another country come to you're close. They're probably the closest they've ever been to New Jersey, which is the pizza capital of the universe, and then you let them down.
Yeah, honestly, I wanted to get pizza. Have you ever had pizza from Sal's in 44?
No, but I've had pizza from Sal's in Scranton, and it's the worst pizza I've ever had. I don't know if they're related.
Okay, I don't think that they're related. If you ever get the chance, try pizza from Sal's in 44. It's right on Wyoming Ave.
Listen, the best pizza.
Very good.
No, the best pizza in the world, not in the world, in northeastern Pennsylvania, is Bueno Pizza on Lackawanna Ave in Scranton. It tastes exactly like you can get pizza. Listen, some Italian dude is like working the dough. His like arm hair gets in it and shit. The place is a little bit dirty. You know what I mean? There's old arcade machines there.
His parents came straight from fucking Italy. As we talk about pizza on a beer show, which I think both of those things goes hand in hand. So it's fine. But
anyway, you basically what Joe is trying to say, instead of going, hey, I took them home and we ate awesome Old Fort pizza, they said, hey, we went to a brewery, we went to a festival, we had to get some kind of food inside of us in order to survive the rest of the night. Mm-hmm. Continue.
So after we had pizza, we went over to Sabatini's and kept the drinking train going.
How long did you guys spend there?
We were there for, I don't know, maybe hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh, that's it? I thought you would have put in a little sesh.
No, we were kind of like, after the festival, we were kind of like, all right, let's just sit over here, have a beer, and relax. So I did show them Dry Lag, though. So I got the Guten Bruges.
Guten Bruges. What do you think?
They liked it. Ian liked it. I just kind of grabbed it and had them chill it behind the bar for me. And then was like, just bring over 4 glasses. So they kind of all got some, whether like Amanda was there too, Ian and Martin, like they all kind of had some, whether they liked it or not.
I gotcha.
But Ian walked out with 3, with like a bottle of like each good Dry Lag beer that was there, like or the 3 small
bombers. Ones. Oh, 3 smaller ones.
Not
so
the bombers.
Guten Rouge, Ragnarok, and probably Crew, I think.
No, I think it was Guten Nacht, actually.
Oh, Guten Nacht. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. What do they think of Sabatini's as a whole?
Martin had the best line. Upon looking up at the TV that had all the listings of the beer and then all of the whiskeys, and it also on that same screen said, ask about our cigars, he turned to us and said, this place doesn't exist. It's like, this isn't a real place.
Yeah.
We went there earlier in the day after we left Breaker, because we had some time to kill before the festival. So I kind of took them around. We went into Fetch's, which is a local butcher shop on Wyoming Ave.
Yeah.
So we went in there, we got a bunch of stuff, and then we went over to Sabatini's, and Ian was like, when's the latest that we could buy bottles to go? So I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna say friggin' whenever, but let me ask. So I asked Nick. I'm like, Nick, when's the latest you can like buy bottles to leave? He's like,
2 a.m.
2 a.m.
Why? What is it in Canada?
So, I think everything fucking closes at like 10.
Really?
LCB is in beer store. Well, the only 2 games in town are the LCBO and the beer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, you can't. Yeah, you can't go into a bar in Canada and take out like beer, can you?
If they did growlers, I think not past a certain point.
Okay.
So
I know you can buy from. I know you can buy from a brewery, but
yeah. So say like, but I think even that would have a limit as well. I think that has a time restriction on it as well. I think beyond, let's say for this example, I should know this because these are our classes, but I think it's because I'm American and we'll never have to deal with this bullshit. I don't give a fuck. So I think, let's say for the sake of this conversation, that anything past 11 o'clock, you can't then take out.
okay.
You know? I'm sure some of our Canadian viewers will be, or not just Canadian, Ontario viewers will be able to clarify.
Nice. So that was a good fucking weekend then.
Yeah, that was a really interesting weekend. The one comment that they had about my beer cellar was, this is like a fucking liquor store.
That's
and then
funny.
I'm telling Martin, I'm like, if something catches your eye, just grab it and like we'll open it. He's like, there's too much dust on some of these bottles, I feel bad. Like, that's how you know it's good, kind of.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was pretty much that weekend, and then we get to the border, and because I have two Canadians in the car, I'm asked how much beer I have in liters. Never been fucking asked that question ever. I'm like, I don't friggin' know, buddy, how much fucking beer I have in liters. Those units of measurement mean nothing to me.
Yeah. It'd be like, I can tell you how much Farvas I have, but no liters. I have about 13 large Farvas.
Yeah, but that was interesting. I've literally never been asked how much beer I have in liters before. I think it's because I could, like, kind of within reason take as much beer as I want into Canada.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You're American. You just said it's all for you.
I know. I should have, actually.
No, it's all mine. None of theirs.
It's all mine. They bought nothing.
Yeah.
I bought it all for them.
No, you bought it all for yourself.
Yeah.
Because then you'd have to pay the taxes. You'd have to pay you'd have to drop some loonies on those duties.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was our big weekend of drinking.
Well, let's dive into subject matter, because we are almost an hour into this and we haven't even talked about one.
Just like, this is going to be 2 episodes basically. Just from being like,
yeah, taking 1 week off. We got too much shit to get in.
Exactly.
So lay it out again. Tell people we're going to talk about that. Will actually.
I don't have my notes ready.
You want me to do it?
No, I got it. Okay, so after our intro that lasted about an hour, our first topic is just kind of our thoughts on recent acquisitions of craft breweries, just kind of as a whole. Pretty much whenever one pops up, we talk about it, but just kind of get some opinions on it, just as a kind of a whole thing. Then our review is going to be Oskar Blues Pinner. You have that beer, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. Because I know the Blanche de Chambly, which I pitched for last week, you didn't have. Then the second topic is thoughts on the potential monopoly that AB InBev is kind of trying to form, and how we think it affects craft beer. So.
Okay. So you want me to go first?
So,
you go first.
I'll head off, just because the most recent one, like we said, we kind of talk about these as they these acquisitions and stuff as they pop up. The most recent one being Ballast Point being bought,
which is pretty much every about 2 to 3 weeks this happens. So.
Yeah, literally every 2 weeks, a new a bigger brewery or bigger craft brewery gets bought out. The most recent one being Ballast Point. So we're probably due for another one like sometime this week or next week. But anyway, Ballast Point gets bought by Craft Brands or something
Constellation?
like that? I forget.
Constellation?
Yeah.
Yeah. They are actually a strict distributorship is what they are. They're not really a brewery. They actually distribute like Corona and a couple things. They actually handle a lot of InBev products for distribution. So they're not actually a really big brewery, or not.
They're not a brewery
at all. They're just a distribution company. And they actually had to borrow $400 million in order to even like make this fucking happen. So they're actually like I wouldn't call them small, but they're not nearly as big as AB InBev or Sab Miller or anything like that, to the point where they're just like they're just trying to get into something.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I think $1 billion for Ballast Point is like kind of too much, like nothing against Ballast Point. Some of their beers are good, but I'd say a lot of that is just like hype machine almost, if that makes any sense.
Well, I forget, man, I wish I had this. I wish I had the information on me. But the reason why they paid $1 billion for them is because of their trending market value. They did, I want to say, and these are numbers I'm taking off the top of my head from memory. So if I get them wrong, if you're watching or listening, again, I could be wrong. Don't kill me. But I'm not trying to prove exact numbers here. I'm trying to just show why it costs as much. Last year,
why it costs what it did.
Yeah, why it costs so much. Last year, I believe, like something like, let's say, they produced they made like $12 million or something like that. They made $12 million off of their production. I forget what it was, if it was actual barrel production or what they shipped to market or something like that. Again, if I'm wrong with the numbers, I know the numbers I'm giving are right, but I forget what they're for.
This year production would be like I believe
I'm not actually saying that's how many barrels to produce. I'm talking actual money. They made $12 million. Okay. In some form or aspect, total all of last year. Okay, and last fiscal year, and the fiscal year runs till April, so you have to keep that in mind. Okay, this fiscal year, that same number, a quotient that we're dealing with, they just hit $58 million. So they've
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's how much they've grown in the past 8 months. So that's why that's why they cost what they cost, because the
that
potential.
Actually makes hearing that now, that actually makes a lot more sense as to why.
Because think about it, we didn't see Ballast Point up until about 6 to 8 months ago. Now you can get it anywhere you want it at all times, and that's the thing. It's like. It's going to be it's going to be real interesting to see what happens with this, because what everybody first says out of the chute, everybody makes a joke about it, because it was like the company does most of their biggest distributed product is Corona. So a lot of people crack jokes, to me about it and being like, this one guy was like, he's like great Sculpin light, Sculpin extra light, you know what I mean? Sculpin ice, cracking jokes like that. And then I just crack back. I'm like BCBS rare light, BCBS rare extra light. You know what I mean? What? Because I know that person covets those beers. I'm like, so what? I saw you post a picture a month ago of Bourbon County Rare, like it was the coolest thing in the world. Well, what's the difference? You know what I mean? And this is where the big difference.
The thing is, if this, you said, this is just a. You said this is just a distribution company. They have absolutely nothing to do with the production of Corona, right?
See, no, they don't. And here's the thing, though. But if they're investing all this money in the company, they're going to have a deeper. They don't own Corona. They're going to own Ballast Point. You know what I mean? No, it's a new venture. So obviously they're not just going to be like, okay, we're just going to distribute it and then just run. They're probably going to try to maximize profits, because they're a business.
Absolutely.
And this is kind of where this is something that we've had him on the show. Average Joe touched on BDU this week, and I've heard a couple of people talk about. This is where it's going to be real interesting with what happens with Ballast Point. Is this Ballast Point? Because everybody looks to Goose Island. Because a lot of the like we keep seeing all these breweries be bought, but a lot of them aren't bought. Like Firestone Walker, 30% here, or 50, 30% of this brewery here, 50% of not a lot of these breweries are being bought. They're being partnered up with. Goose Island is the one that people look at when they look at this, okay? Or Lagunitas. But Lagunitas, we're still kind of in the gray area. What's fucking going on with them? Anyway, Goose Island's core lineup, like their core lineup, outside of the Bourbon County line, or even like their 750 Belgians, their core lineup was okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. I had like one or two of them randomly, and they were nice.
Yeah.
But those have changed. Like people say, "Oh no, they haven't." Yeah, a lot of people say they have, but some people say they haven't. But they actually have changed because a lot of those beers ended up getting produced in a lot of other, like the bigger facilities of AB InBev. Mm-hmm. Ballast Point's fucking hay is made on their base core line. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not like they're buying Ballast Point to get at like a Bourbon County line somewhere. No,
they're not.
It's all about the sculpin. You know what I mean? It's all about the baseline shit.
They're not buying Ballast Point for bourbon barrel aged Victory at Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and the sculpin is where they make their hay. That's their smaller beers. That's where they actually make their money. So it's curious to see how much of a difference that core line is going to. Is it going to change? Because it's a bigger deal for that to change for them than fucking it did for Goose Island.
There's another interesting point that I mentioned it when we talked about Firestone Walker. I haven't seen, and I think it's just because of the fact that it's becoming more commonplace now. Like, I think when Goose Island hit, it was like one of the first that we like knew about, because like Omegang was bought like super early.
Well, yeah, I mean Omegang was
at this.
Go ahead.
Then like Goose Island is probably, and I could be wrong on this, but it was probably like the first to go to one of the macro breweries, and you saw after that happened this huge, like everyone was like, oh, I'm never buying a Goose Island beer again, boycott Goose Island, this, that, and the other. Now that we jokingly said it happens about like every 2 to 3 weeks now, there's not enough time to go like boycott this beer. Oh wait, this other brewery just got bought. Like I didn't see the same kind of like I'm never buying Sculpin again kind of mentality that you saw initially with Goose Island. And I think it could also be the fact that it wasn't directly AB InBev or Stab Miller that bought them. But personally, what I think is it's the fact that it's becoming more commonplace for these larger craft breweries to be bought or partnered up with another larger company.
Well, it's classic. What it is everybody's like, people are afraid of big business because big business lies to people, and then AB InBev is big business, and then people feel two things: they feel like shit's gonna change, or Budweiser's just gonna try to sneak shit past them, buy it through. They think they're gonna buy some. There's no way they're gonna buy a company and we're not gonna know about it. It's not like you're not gonna know about it. Like the one dude who tried to sue Blue Moon and it got thrown out like 2 weeks ago. That lawsuit finally got thrown out because they're like, listen, dude, if you gave that much of a shit, you would know. So go fuck yourself. But it's like, you know what? I attribute it to is it's exactly like guns and Obama. It's like anytime something with a gun comes up, people are like, Obama's coming to get your guns. He's coming to get them. And then it doesn't come get them. And then next time
doesn't happen.
And the next time something happens, here he comes. He's coming to get your guns. Do you know what I mean? And then nothing happens. And then wait a minute, he's never came and got your guns. And then that's the kind of thing with this is that they're like, oh, they bought it. They're coming to get you. They're going to sneak in their fucking adjunct fucking lager in there and you won't know it. And then you're going to die of AIDS. No, it's not. They're going to, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's not going to happen for a couple reasons. One, they don't care about, they don't care about beer. I'm not saying everybody at AB InBev doesn't care because they're in the beer business. A lot of them probably give a shit. But there's a financial group at the top that cares about red and black and numbers. Okay.
Well, at the same time, like Coors Light isn't Coors Light by accident. You know, it's made exactly the way they want it to be made.
But here's the thing. What they're trying to do is they're trying to profit off the craft beer market. They're not trying to bait and switch the craft beer market. They're not trying to trick them like, haha, see what we did to you there? They're not trying to be like, okay, we'll buy Ballast Point.
Well,
then we'll just take Schmitz Light and put it in brands. Fucking no, they're like, we're not going to take Sculpin and put Schmitz in it and then just say that's Ballast Point Sculpin now. No, they want to profit off the craft beer culture. So they're buying it and they're just going to grow it and expand it and try not to fuck it up because they want to make money. You know what I mean? So it's not like they're coming in there just like there's some weird kind of Machiavellian fucking like sinisterness about what they're doing. Like they're just, we got to get over on those craft beer people. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, they just want your fucking money.
We'll get them today.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's like, listen, there's a couple people I know in the world who have very loose wallets when it comes to things.
Yeah.
Tattoo artists spend money like it's on fire. You know what I mean? Like beer people like to spend money on beer. Yeah. I know a lot of beer people, myself included. Sometimes I'm like, man, I got to pay my phone bill. Oh, wait. There's a case of BCBS for $120. Sign me up, baby. You know what I mean? Like it's just.
I realized coming to school and having no money. I realized how much disposable income I had in 2012 by all the fucking beer in my cellar. That's from 2012. Like, son of a bitch. What did I do? Like, I don't want to think about how much money I've spent on beer.
Yeah, so in the grand scheme of things, like the whole culture of them buying up breweries and doing that, it's
you're not gonna take a brand or a brewery that makes money and go, sorry fella, you're gonna make this now.
There's a lot of the shit. A lot of it is unknown stuff. Okay, like the whole Duvel buying Ommegang. That actually, the original purchase of Duvel and Ommegang was because Ommegang wanted to sell and were actively looking for a buyer.
Yeah,
it wasn't like Duvel was like, we want to buy it. They were like it was the couple that owned it. They were like, we want it out, and they pitched it. Now, when you have companies like you have Firestone Walker. You have Boulevard. Those companies that are actually partnered up or sold portion of their business to, it's multifaceted what it is. You have those companies. Basically what Firestone Walker and Boulevard did was bulletproof themselves against AB InBev, Constellation, Sad Miller.
Absolutely.
What they're doing, okay, now they can't be taken over because Duvel's big enough. They got a bully in their corner. They fucking, you know what I mean? They got somebody that, like, if somebody comes a knocking, and that's actually why Firestone did that. There's like, I don't know shit from nothing, but, from what I've heard from people who know shit is that
you Firestone it a couple of times.
Firestone Walker was actively trying to be taken over by a huge business, and that's why they did what they did with fucking Duvel, so they could just be like, okay, we'll do this, then we're cool. Do you know what I mean? No one will fuck with us. Then you have companies like Founders. You have companies like Dogfish Head who are selling Dogfish Head borrowed money from an investment group. That's really no different than kind of selling shares of your business, because what you're doing when you borrow money from an investment group, you're borrowing that money based off of equity of the business you own. When you sell shares of your business to somebody, you're taking equity, which is shares. It's not physical money of your business and giving to that person for cash influx. You know what I mean? So there's really no difference. So when you talk about, like, you know, Dogfish Head borrowing money from an investment group, or you're talking about founders taking their money from that Spanish distribution thing, what they are doing, that is growing their brand internally. That's them going, okay, it's the same extent fucking Lagunitas. Because they're on the same kind of boat. They want to be bigger. They want to be bigger. They want to take their beers. Founders wants to be in Denmark. Fucking Lagunitas wants to be in Holland. Fucking, you know, fucking whatever. Those breweries want to be global. So they're doing that as a stepping stone, a ladder to get there. And then there's probably the third acquisition area, which is actually two parts, is huge business, AB InBev, fucking, you know what I mean, Sapporo, Sab Miller, the whole nine, buying up huge Goose Island, Ballast Point. That's them trying to make money off of, like, they've maxed out. Ballast Point, even though they just expanded in this area, and Goose Island was actually quite a bit smaller. Goose Island was smaller than Ballast Point when they got bought up. They're bigger now, but they're smaller then. They're just trying to make money by taking them global themselves. And then the other part is like places like St. Archer or Golden Road, when you have like AB InBev and those companies buying these small niche little breweries. Those are the ones that are kind of like, those are like your I don't want to say your penny stocks. They're almost like a high risk loan, like, or high risk investment. They're like, okay, let's get in here. Instead of paying $1 billion for Ballast Point now, we think Golden Road has Ballast Point potential, but they're not even close. So let's buy them small and hope they'll in 10 years,
20 years.
Yeah, so let's buy now, spend $100 million instead of $1 billion. You know what I mean? Or 50 million, and then maybe we hedge our bet and make some money that way. So it's like, it's not just one thing. It's not like things are being taken over or they're not being taken over. There's so many levels to what's happening. And honestly, and this is, I think, the cusp of the fucking argument, none of it's bad to this point. None of it's been bad. I'm trying to think of any. The only thing that was probably the only bad one, and honestly, it really didn't affect me much in any way whatsoever, was Elysian. Because when Elysian got taken over, from what I've heard, again, this is me, secondary shit, so take it with a grain of salt, is that that was like super hostile takeover. That's like the owners fighting until the last second, and then they had to sell because they were publicly traded or some bullshit. So the owners basically were just like, okay.
Then with Elysian being taken over, you have the company that took them over putting out an ad during the Super Bowl, going, like, basically shitting on craft beer and mentioning a pumpkin peach ale, which is the company you just bought, they make. Like, as hostile of a takeover, it's like really, you're gonna then kick us while we're down? Like, what are you doing?
And as much as that,
there's a disconnect between marketing and
that's
else.
The left foot not talking to the right foot is all that is. And we've all done it. We've all tripped before, but fucking that in itself, and this is why that happened. And I'm not trying to excuse it because it's fucking. Actually, I love that it happened. It's fucking hilarious. But what that is that Budweiser, and I've actually cooled off on this. I don't watch a ton of broadcast television, but. Like they were really going hard there for over a year about like, again, let's get slightly political. Most of the people that drink Budweiser are, right wing, religious, like, you know what I mean? Like fucking America people. Fuck yeah, America. I love NASCAR.
It's like Hank Hill and Alamo.
Yeah, kind of like that.
It's like that kind of like, that whole scenario.
Yeah, my grandpappy drank that shit, like that kind of stuff. And fucking And Budweiser and a lot of those companies were really hitting that hard to go, and that's kind of where that ad went. It's like made the hard way. We're tough. We're hard. This is men in a factory. They work 30 hours a day.
I've been to Labatt. It's fucking huge. No,
yeah,
I didn't see a goddamn human being.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not saying that's how it is. That's how they market it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like that. But they're playing on that ideal of like super fucking like you got to be a hardworking guy, and there's a lot of people that buy into it. Like stupid story. Just because I can't stop talking tonight. The fucking like I'm in traffic. I hate people that speed up in traffic and like the lane, the merge lane. They try to get all the way in the front of the merge lane.
Yeah.
So like I was being that guy who fucking stopped in the merge lane and just like would back up traffic behind me to get shit flowing again. And then the dude next to me rolled down his window and started yelling at me, called me a pussy and a bitch. And he's like, fuck you. Oh, well, you think you're more important than everybody else? You're blocking the fucking lane. He's like, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, and like he's yelling at me and I'm like laughing at him, dude. And he's insulting me. And so I'm like, what, dude? I'm like, what? I'm like, he's like, what if I had to get home for my fucking kids? And I'm like, then you would be honking your horn and flashing your lights and I would let you go by. Like if you're freaking the fuck out or whatever. I'm like, and like, he's like, yeah, but he's like, you know what? He's like, but Mike, you're not wrong when I get to this. Is what he said. He's like, listen, he's like, look at you. He's like, look at you. He's like, oh, fucking, like tattoos and thing in your nose. He's like, I just worked a fucking 17-hour day and I haven't seen my kids all day. And he's like, what have you done? And I'm like, I haven't worked 17 hours to make a living. Like what the, I look at him like, are you proud that you work? What am I supposed
to be doing?
Are you proud that you work really hard and your life sucks? Like, did you just tell me that you just work? You just said you worked a 17-hour day and that you haven't seen your kids and be like, you just said your life fucking sucks, dude. I'm like, that's what you, I told him, I'm yelling at him like that. I'm like, you just said your life fucking sucks. That's what you just told me. You said you're angry at me because I'm not you. And that's fucking retarded. And that's the people they're selling the beer to. They're selling that old world. Like my dad couldn't ever get to grips. I work in an artistic kind of job, and I didn't work 12 hours a day, and I didn't come home beaten, tired, and bloodied. And he never viewed it as a job. Oh, he's like, oh, that's not. He didn't work. Well, I'm sorry, I don't have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, and that. But those are the people they're trying to sell their beers to. So when they did that whole marketing thing, they didn't. Didn't even know they're buying a company that was the opposite of that. So it was just like, I don't know. It's again left foot, not talking to right foot, but it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I know. Facebook bullshit. Anyway, like the best part about all of those ads were the response ads that Ninkasi brewery put out.
A bunch of them did. A bunch of breweries did them too. Yeah,
a bunch of breweries did them. But the best one, the one I saw was from Ninkasi, where a dude's like on a fucking couch, like basically like Scruffy in Futurama, just like reading a magazine, and he like throws a handful of hops in like the general direction of the kettle at one point. I thought that was fucking hilarious.
I actually never seen that one. I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, that one was really fucking good. But yeah, it's I think it's interesting that they went so strong on that, and it took a long time for them to just kind of like wrangle their friggin' marketing department back into line and go like, listen, you're not doing us any favor. Like, you're not doing the company any favors here.
But that's the thing.
We're already.
See, that's the thing, though. Is it?
Already looked. Not really.
No, is it that bad of a thing? How many people talked about Budweiser for how long? You don't know. That could have been some Andy Kaufman level genius shit right there.
That is
like literally
true.
You don't even know. Like, that's the thing. You don't know if there was some dude like, let's make fun of this company we just bought to get people arguing back and forth, and we'll get like months and months of fucking free advertising off of it. That's what I mean. Like, they fucking won.
Does like here's the thing though. Like, does all of that free advertising then lead to Budweiser sales? I could talk with my group of friends up here till we're all blue in the face about Budweiser. Not one of us is going to go buy a fucking can of it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I think the opposite side buys more because, and let's put it this way, like, okay, perfect example. After the crazy racist white kid fucking killed all the fucking African Americans in the church, everybody hated the fucking Confederate flag for good reason. But you know how many Confederate flag shit got sold after that?
Oh,
like they're like the sales like quadrupled. So it's that thing where they, you know what I mean? Yes, we're not going to be like, you know what? Fuck Budweiser. I want me a fucking Bud right now. No, but the opposite end of the spectrum. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
the opposite end is probably going to go. So they're not like, that's the thing. I don't think Bud is delusional enough to think they're ever going to talk us into drinking Bud.
They tried that gambit and it didn't work.
No, they tried to. No, I meant Bud. That was straight regular Bud, not them making Bud Select and all that shit. If they made, dude,
that was like their thing with like brands like Shock Top. It was marketed toward craft beer people to then pull them back to Budweiser. What ended up happening though was people who drank Budweiser their entire fucking lives was like, oh, here's Shock Top, and then we're like, holy shit, beer has other flavors or flavor in general, and then moved on to other things. So like that whole marketing scheme backfired on them. So they now have to repace themselves and go, let's try to just buy up all of these like craft breweries in the hopes that like maybe people will start buying Budweiser again. Yeah, that's kind of like, but going back to like that flip side of the argument of people seeing this and like, yeah, fuck craft beer. There's probably a decent amount of people that did that went like, yeah, screw craft beer, and probably saw all it takes is one person to have a bad experience. You know, for example, Chuck, I think it was Chuck, was out in Michigan. He was telling the story at your Christmas bottle share and how he went into Founders and they were like, he's like, oh, I want to try a bunch of stuff and see what I want to buy. And they're like, do you know where you are right now? Like, you're in Founders. Like, all it takes is that. All it takes is one instance of someone never in, or in the potential scenario of people being kicked out of the Hill Farmstead line. All it takes is one scenario of snobbishness to craft beer to turn someone away from it. And then that person would, within all of their rights, never buy any craft beer.
Yeah. No, you're fucking right. You know, but there's so many facets to it. There's so many levels to it. But at the thing, in the grand scheme of things, I think I saw a bunch of articles over the past week of people like pooing on it and shitting on it and all that stuff. Do you want? I could give two fucks that Ballast Point. Honestly, like Ballast Point was never a Sculpin. Dig it. You know what I mean? Victory at Sea, cool. Yeah. You know, the Sea Monster, nice. You know what I mean?
I liked Victory at Sea. Grapefruit Sculpin was pretty good. I had no interest in Habanero Sculpin. Regular Sculpin was good. You know, but other than that, like that's
regular Sculpin's fucking great. It's great, but it's great along with 9,000 other great beers.
Yeah, it's another IPA. Like, it's not, to me, it's nothing like if given the choice, and this is just, you know, it's two sides of a different coin. I would choose grapefruit over regular Sculpin. I liked the flavors out of that beer compared to the regular one. But at the same time, I had regular Sculpin in a time where, in a time where like we wouldn't usually see Ballast Point, so it wasn't like crazy fresh.
Yeah.
You know, like I got a 4-pack or a 6-pack or however much of grapefruit Sculpin, and I'm like, this is crazy fresh beer. So there was that difference there. Like those were the beers that I wanted out of Ballast Point. I want to try some of the Combo for the Storm, but that's about it. I don't know where I was going. I lost my train of thought, and I don't know where I'm going with this now. But I lost it.
Okay. Well, how about we do this while you struggle to find it? We can do a beer review.
All right, let
So
me go. Well, I have to go
I think
grab a
we're at
beer.
that point. Okay.
I think
We're
so
gonna
as
be
well.
we're gonna be reviewing.
grab this beer.
This is a little bit of Oskar Blues, their Pinner throwback IPA. It is something I've had before, not a lot of actually. I remember having it, but not enough to where I could actually comment on what I remember having from it. So, super excited to give it a whirl. Joe, I think picked this up when we picked up a bunch of beers back in the day. So his is probably mad fucking old, which will be awesome. Mine is, let's see here, 8, 9, 10. It's 2.5 old, 2.5 months old. So I'm not fresh, but not uber old either. So it is what it is. Label wise, can wise, I dig it. It's fucking atypical Oskar Blues styling. The coolest thing, one of the cooler things that Oskar Blues does in their cans, which is Oskar Blues, like a lot of Colorado breweries, before and after them, they love their marijuana. They're on the pots and they like their weed. So hence the name Pinner. You know what I mean? If you're not getting why the beer is called what it is. So
I don't.
Yeah. And most people don't know this, that this little thing here on an Oskar Blues can, they have their branding. You have here, which it says Ball, and then it says Oskar Blues Ball, I think is a canning company maybe. Ball.
Yeah, Ball it makes like a lot of like your mason jars or your jam jars or cans. It's Ball that produce them.
And then on the other side you have OB, which is Oskar Blues, and then you have this little circular pattern here. What that is when you're done drinking your beer, that's where you poke the hole, put your weed, and smoke it. Okay, that's what that is. You ever smoke weed out of a can before, Joe? No. So you typically
no, I'm not.
Typically, when you smoke weed out of a can, what you do is you crush it a little bit, make a little pocket, you poke a hole in it, and then you can smoke it like this. And that's why that's there. That's your little, like, it's a screen basically. It's a screen printing of a screen. Be like, hey, that's where you would poke the hole to smoke your weed out of. So there you go. It's on every can they produce.
Yeah, when you mentioned that too. Oh, and of course that it also has sip sip give.
Yep.
On the top of the can.
Yeah.
Can I? Oh, look! Aren't they cute? Can I be blunt?
What's the age on yours?
I'll tell you after I pour it.
Okay. I poured mine. Finger. Nice, cloudy, fluffy, kind of pillowy head. Nice creaminess to it. I mean, that's clear. That's clear. It's almost Pilsner-like in color.
5, 12, 15.
Holy fuck, dude. Okay. Well, yeah,
Wegmans.
There you go. Yay. Mine, I just bought today, so it's only 2.5 months old. So yours is a little bit different. So a 4.9% IPA. You might have a little hop drop off on yours, buddy. Not saying anything.
It's not like this isn't the first time we've done an aged and sort of fresh beer review.
Yeah, really subtle carbonation, but there's ever so slightest bit of haze to it, like there's subtle particulates floating around in it. Pretty beer, cool beer. It looks very Pilsner to me.
It does actually look really Pilsnery, not so much like an IPA.
Yeah. He's got a nose and a sucker.
All right.
Yeah, I get subtle citrus, like very, very subtle, soft citrus.
See, mine's going more toward pine at this point. Maybe, like you said, subtle citrus, but
yeah, I don't really get much pine.
Is a lot of pine out of this.
Man, I don't get much pine off of it. Just a little bit of a bready, like a biscuity kind of malt. This is so fucking real tiny, very subtle, very crushable. I mean, it's a 4.9% fucking IPA. It's supposed to be crushed.
Yeah, it's supposed to be drank. It's supposed to be drank fresh.
So, yeah, let's dive right in, baby. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, I could drink like 70 of these.
Yeah.
It's like a lot more malt than I expected. Almost like a toasted malt, like a subtly toasted malt. I'm getting off of it, like a toasted Pilsner malt, almost like it's like weird. It's cool. I dig it though. I mean, this is absolutely quintessential. Like, I'm going to go to the beach and I want to bring a 6-pack or a 12-pack with me. And I don't want to drink anything crazy ABV, or I don't want to drink anything super heavy. And I just want to drink a bunch of beer for one, because I want to drink beer, and two, because I want fucking hydration.
This would have been, had I found this like over the summer, this would have been my alternative to Grasshopper when I went out.
Oh, Grasshopper is an infinitely better beer than this, though.
Oh, it's infinitely better, but like on the
it's
same
also
kind of
2% higher. Yeah, it's all, Grasshopper is also 2%
on the same kind of drinkability range. Like that's where I'm kind of getting at. Like this is the, like you said, the hot day, just want to drink a beer. You don't want something super high alcohol.
Yeah, it's not too shabby.
I get a little bit less of the malt character, but that's also because it's pretty old. I get almost no hop character on the flavor, but it's a pretty old beer, a pretty old 4.9% beer.
And that's the thing people need to realize with this too, is that it's not an IPA, it's a throwback IPA. This is actually what a lot of IPAs were back in the day, because people are afraid of hops. So it's not. This is more a pale ale than anything. Oh, not an Indian pale ale. It's not an actual IPA. I'll look at it even up. I bet it's not even classified as an IPA. Penner. Let's see. I bet you it is only classified as an American IPA, but I mean, session IPA, I guess. But yeah, it's more pale ale than anything. It does have a bit of hop character for me, more than you. I mean, it's to be expected because you have a 13-year-old can. But yeah, it's a really nice beer. Would I buy it again? Fuck yeah, man. This is the beer I'd like to keep like in the fridge. So if any people come over, this is like, hey, they're not into craft beer and they want a beer and they want something more closely associated with what they're used to. Not that this is like what all those companies we just talked about produce, but it's a closer bridge than most other beers that I have in my house. So, I keep it for that reason. I keep it for hot days. I keep it just if I wanted to chug one, and I keep it because it's well made from a cool company too.
Yeah, I mean, I generally like Oskar Blues beers. I haven't really had one that I've said like, oh, that's not a good beer. Like I could see this beer being really fresh, being really good. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice. If you like what we like this, man. Look, if you like that, if you like what the beers that we were talking about from the companies we're talking about today, and you want to get into craft beer, or conversely, if you just like clean, crisp beer and you want something to chug, and you're going to a fucking tailgate, you're going to mow your lawn, you're going to a fucking barbecue. There you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're going out to like some kind of family get together where that the beer selection there is going to be your Coors Light or Budweiser or whatever particular brand your family buys, then bring a 6-pack or a 12-pack of this for yourself, and you should be good for the evening, and even maybe get some people who are typically drinking those other beers onto something like this.
Yeah, I mean I
don't even fresh. And now my palate for bitterness is like completely shot, and I barely register bitterness. I can't see this beer being offensive,
Oh God, no. No way this could ever be offensive. But yeah, not too shabby. I mean, for me, like I said, kind of touched on earlier. For me, like my go-to kind of like, I'm gonna sit around and have a bunch of beers in the sun kind of beers. More like I go with Belgian wits. That's like my go-to. But for someone that's coming more from your macro lager or pilsner route, this would be a bit more easier, I guess you would say.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, there you go. What are we talking about next? Thoughts on potential monopolies? Let's talk about monopolies, son. What about them? You want to talk about monopolies, the potential of monopolies? Because, well, monopolies are illegal, so that would never happen, right?
Yes, that would never happen. They are illegal.
Yeah.
Can't happen.
Yeah. Go ask every cable company ever.
Yes.
You know, cable companies that are like that. It's like in a country where monopolies are illegal, you're not allowed. There's only one place and one place only you can get cable internet from. That's it. You have no choices. That's it. If you want internet that's fast, you go to the one, and it's not even like there's multiple cable companies that you can go to when you're there. There's one. It's their fucking territory. No one else is allowed to fucking come in there. Fucking assholes. Anyway, so yeah, monopoly wise, I think it's not gonna happen.
No, it's
in this country, it's not gonna happen.
Try as hard as they will.
In this country, it's not gonna happen.
In this country,
it's already it is happening in a lot of countries. Like in countries like I know Jamaica, I think they have like 3 beers there. They have like Red Stripe, Dragon Stout, and something else.
Yeah.
Probably
China, Guinness, honestly.
In China, I think it's like Snow, or Asia. Like Snow is like the largest. Snow is the most popular selling beer in the whole world. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And it's like that's like their beer. So countries have these kind of monopolized kind of like beer things. There's craft everywhere, but not like it is in the States. So you're still gonna have like them buying companies, but we talked about this a while ago, and I'm still absolutely 100% on board with how I think it's going to go down, is that beer is going to get so big it's going to get really small. You know, you're still going to have sought after beers that people are going to try to go after, try to get, but it's going to get to the point where most people are just going to fill up growlers. You should see, like, I find it actually really funny because I've been to quite a few breweries over the past month or two. I don't know how it was for you when you went down to that fucking Springhouse place, but when I was at Kane and I was there and we're talking to Mike, and I couldn't help but notice, like, I would say we were there for 2 hours. I would say 10 to 20 like Genera old timers came in with growler fills. It wasn't like
the same. That's Breaker.
Yeah.
Fucking everybody grabs a growler from Breaker.
Yeah, and it's not like some hipster wearing plaid fucking banjo playing fucking hipster.
That's the thing with Breaker. It's on a regular basis. It's an older crowd in there. It's not people that look like us, you know, like your hipster fucking beer assholes, you know.
Yeah.
It's an older crowd that lives in that general area that will come in there and have, you know, a couple of beers, and then they'll either bring their growler,
yeah, or
they'll buy a growler if they've never been there before. It was the same thing with Endless. We had a couple old timers just stroll in with their fucking 2-liter growler and try a couple of things and go, yeah, let me get this today. You know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like for me, beer's gonna become just that. Like I said, you're still gonna have these bigger breweries. I'm not talking like AB InBev now. I'm talking about like bigger breweries, like your Dark Horse, Three Floyds, fucking shit like that. You're gonna have these bigger breweries where people are gonna want beers from those places. But it's gonna get so big that every town is gonna have 1 or 2 or 3 like nice fucking micro breweries, nano breweries that produce great beer, and it's just that's gonna be the way it is, and that's where you're gonna get 80% of your beer. Well, like I like that one podcast owner from Carton Brewing does it, Augie. It's called Steal This Beer. Check it out. I dig it. It's good. It's a lot of information, shit like that. And he says the same thing to a different extent in that, like he said, like it's like the idea of most people are into IPAs, and there's the whale IPAs. Like this week I've had them all. I had them on. I had Treehouse's Julius. I had Pliny this week. I had fucking Fuzzy Baby Nuts. I had Losses. I had them all this week. And but he said that the idea of the whale IPA is over because, and he said not because people don't want it anymore, because every area has a brewery making one now. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, like they're all subtly different, but every place you go to, there is going to be a small brewery making an amazing IPA or double IPA, and it's just going to naturally progress to where every area is going to be making an awesome version of almost every style. And it's just you're going to go outside of the area for the sake of variety, not because of need. So it's gonna get bigger to the point where it gets smaller. That's gonna be my thing. So while you're gonna have companies like InBev and all them grow,
I didn't touch on Springhouse. You brought them up.
Yeah,
I went to Springhouse on a Wednesday afternoon. So really, like, we were one of 4 people in there. I think it would have been a completely different story had we gone there on like a Saturday afternoon where people are off, and they're getting stuff ready for that night, or Friday where they're getting ready for the weekend. I think we would have seen a lot more people getting growler fills then than we did on a Wednesday, because literally no one got a growler. Like, they came in for lunch and then they left. You know.
Yeah.
So that
and there's like drop that anecdote in there just because it is what it is. But this is I'll like wrap this story. This is a really cool fucking story I was told this week, and I actually heard it before. But like this is why beer will never die. Okay, you have companies like Lagunitas and Ballast Point, and those companies selling. Okay, they give a shit about beer, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like in Lagunitas' point, Tony McGee's getting old. He doesn't have kids. What is he gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, get the fuck out, enjoy your fucking life. You know what I mean? Like, so you can't fault people for selling, but there's also like, it's not as cold and collective as it is like a lot of other businesses. Like, I work in a tattoo industry. It's one of the shittier industries to work in because everybody's always fighting against each other inside the industry to the point where it's like you just want to throw up on yourself because everybody's like, I'm better than you and fuck you because I want everything. Anyway, breweries aren't like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there are dickhead breweries, but most of them aren't like that. And that's why it'll never fucking get to the point where it's just totally monopolized, is because this is one of the coolest fucking stories I ever fucking heard. I heard a portion of it a while ago, but I told you we're doing the Rare Barrel this weekend. Yeah. And this shows you why it won't end up totally monopolized. All they do is sour beers. And
I think I know what story you're talking about.
Okay. And maybe if you do, if you don't, either way, I'm going to tell it. And if people have never heard it, they're going to hear it now. Is that they make all sour beers. So they've talked and collaborated with a bunch of other breweries. Now, New Belgium is known a lot for their sour program.
I know exactly where this story is going.
Yep, and
I heard about it last week, or the drive down with my friends.
Okay, maybe it's the whole story. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I got tidbits for you. I don't know. Anyway, let's see. Who was it? They basically, if you talk to sour brewers, they usually have a favorite barrel, and barrel that just produces awesome flavors, yada, yada, yada. So New Belgium had a barrel, and it was called PH1, yes. And it was their favorite barrel. And they had it for a while, and every beer they made, it just imparted fantastic flavors in it and stuff like that. But breweries get rid of barrels all the time. You know what I mean? Like, they come and go. Sours, not so much, but still. And then one day it was gone. The barrel was gone. They didn't know where it was. Okay, so they're distraught. And then the I forget the woman who runs the barrel aging program at New Belgium. Lauren Salazar. She was doing like just a beer kind of tour thing, and she went to Russian River, and she was going through Russian River, and lo and behold, there's that barrel. PH1 is at Russian River, and she's like, "What the fuck?" She's like, "Had this in here, blah blah blah." And it wasn't so she's like, "I want my fucking barrel back." You know what I mean? But she's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that's here." Yada yada. So lo and behold, you know what I mean? Not shortly after, the barrel shows back up. They gave it back to her.
The barrel shows up with like bottles of like supplication or whatever came out of it.
Is that the story you heard?
Yes.
Is that all the story?
The New Belgium part, I think so. And then continue on with your story, and I will let you know what I know.
They Rare Barrel, basically that's what they named their brewery after that. Not necessarily that specific barrel, but they named the brewery Rare Barrel because everybody has that Rare Barrel that they love. But then they ended up doing a collaboration with New Belgium, and they ended up making a collaboration. If my memory serves me correctly from the story the owner was telling me on Sunday, they made a collaboration beer with them, and they use that barrel. So they're like super pumped, homage. Like they're really big into history of beers, so they're like so excited to use that barrel, and because it's kind of like legendary, and I've heard stories about it, and they brewed it at New Belgium, used that barrel, and then New Belgium bottles and puts together the beer, and they get a shipment of that beer from New Belgium, and they gave them the barrel.
Yes, I heard that as well.
Yeah, so that was a great fucking story. Like, it's one of the cooler fucking stories I've ever heard, and that's why it won't monopolize completely, because you don't have that. You don't have that shit happen. And let's talk about that from Sam Adams standpoint. Like, a lot of people shit on Sam Adams. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's like people even shit on Sam Adams, even though they're not, like, they're way bigger than most crap breweries, but they're not even close to as big as the like Budweiser and fucking Miller and all those things.
This was a couple years ago, but they were like less than 1% of the beer market.
Yeah, but like if you were like, let's say you were a brewery in fucking Rhode Island, and you needed something, if you called Sam Adams, they'll fucking give it to you. They'd be like, "Oh, if you need hops, you need this, you need that." They'll be like, "Okay, yeah, not they're gonna give it to you; they'll sell it to you, but they'll sell it to you what they pay for it, which is actually way cheaper than when you get it for it because they buy it in such large quantities of shit."
Yeah, they contract out so much stuff that they cannot possibly use it. And that's fairly common with a lot of big craft breweries, and then they'll turn around and sell it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's that thing where it's like there's that weird kind of unique spirit that really I'm trying to. I don't know any other. I mean,
there's not a. There's some kind of, I forget what the exact the exact kind of analogy is, but it's something along the lines of like rising tide like floats all boats or something along those lines of like we're kind of like all in this together. And it kind of stems from the big craft breweries like your Sam Adams down to your super small breweries like your Rusty Rail or Breaker. To where like people around, Three Guys in a Beard is in Carbondale, Irving Cliff is in Honesdale. Those two places are not far away from each other. So the people that were opening Irving Cliff contacted Three Guys in a Beard to kind of like give them a little bit of a hand, like, what kind of equipment should they be looking for, this, that, and the other. Whether they did it or not, which I'm pretty sure they didn't, from what I heard from Three Guys in a Beard, they didn't have to tell them everything that they should be buying. They didn't have to give them any help. They did, and that's not like Three Guys in a Beard is super small. as well as Irving Cliff being super small. You know?
Yeah.
And it was the same thing with North Slope. They like the guys from North Slope went and brewed with 3 guys and a beard at one point, and Matt was gonna drive an hour from Carbondale to fucking Dallas to go help them. You know?
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. It'll never get to that point as much as they try, motherfuckers. Or it'll just be like Fallout 4 and the apocalypse happened, and we'll just have to make our own beer.
Just start homebrewing.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, there you go. I'm just gonna go straight to I'm gonna make moonshine. Fuck beer. It's overrated. Fucking hipsters.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That was the funniest thing when like the last 2 fucking holdout states for legalizing homebrew or homebrewing, their arguments were the moonshiners. Like, little did they know, if you want to make a beer illegally and actually make money, just start a fucking legal brewery.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not like is making an illegal brewery is probably just as profitable as making a legal brewery.
It's actually probably less profitable.
Which is probably less profitable.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think is that it? Are we done? Did we actually finish this? Yeah.
I think so. Well, I think we talked about the last thing of how it affects.
Yeah, monopolies and shit like that. Yeah,
monopolies and all that jazz.
All that jazz. How does it affect it? It doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, like honestly, like
it doesn't as long as the mentality stays of as long as we're all in this together mentality keeps. The second that keeps,
two things. As long as we're all in together, and 2, if the product doesn't change, that's all that matters. You know what I mean? Like, and I've actually said this from the beginning. I don't fucking care. Mm-hmm. I don't care. If Budweiser made a beer that tasted like Thomas Hardy, I would just buy that, and I'd say, "That's all I'm drinking from now on. Goodbye," and I'd be fine with that. Like, if they could produce, who knows? In 200 years. Maybe Budweiser regresses, and instead of making just whatever they make now, they just make awesome beers because they have the facilities and the means.
I think if Budweiser if Budweiser regresses, and then what if they made the beer that they made when they were just starting? So like this unfiltered lager.
Just because it's the original doesn't mean it's good. You know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
Like,
but,
yeah, because
the same kind of here's the thing about big breweries. We saw it when we got to see Labatt. They have what they call a mother beer, and then from that mother beer, they can make 7 or 8 brands.
Yeah,
and that's kind of how it works. It's high gravity brewing. So the mother beer is a super high concentrated beer, and then they dilute it down to whatever alcohol they need it to be, and then it's this beer, it's this beer, it's this beer, and it's this beer now, and they're all basically the same thing but a different label slapped on it. You know, that's the big secret.
A lot of breweries do that in the opposite aspect. Like a lot of breweries, like instead of diluting it, like again, not to be a fucking dead story, but the Rare Barrel, they only make 3 beers, but they make a golden, they make a fucking like a brown sour, golden sour, brown sour, and then they make a dark sour, and then they take those beers and then they blend them and then mix them and then barrel age them and then age them on different. So really, they only make 3 beers. You know what I mean? Then they expand off of those 3 beers.
Like it's a different form of that, and the blending form is looked upon higher than the high gravity brewing.
Yeah,
because you're blending it with other beers. You're not blending it with water.
So yeah, I mean, like, I had a really good story. You fucked me up, motherfucker. No, but yeah,
You're welcome.
yeah. I lost my train of thought. So yeah, there you go.
Cool.
Yeah, so I think we're done for tonight.
I think so.
Yeah, good 2-hour session. Doesn't suck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sure, this one will get a ton of views.
They-
They'll be like, hey, these guys are going to talk about this. And then 45, 50 minutes, and they go, no, they're not. And they just shut the fuck up.
Nope.
No, they're not. Nope, they're not talking about it at all.
They're talking about nothing for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's only 10 minutes in.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. We had a couple of viewers tonight, live viewers. Count went up and down, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. If you did or you didn't or somewhere in between, let us know, man. Let us know anything. Let us know if you hate us. Let us know if you love us. Let us know what you want to talk about. Give us subject matter. Give us ideas. If you want to check Joseph and myself out, you find me. Just go on the internet, type in Massive Beers on Google, and all my shit will pop up. How about you, Joe?
Ooh. I'm not entirely sure if you do that with me, if you'll get everything. So, you can find me on nepabeerreviews.squarespace.com. Also, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at NEPABeerReviews.
So there you go. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Hopefully you enjoy our other shows. Go back, fam, watch them. Watch us make asses of ourselves and talk about beer. And hopefully see you next time.
For an hour or two.
Yeah, that's what we do. We're ramblers. So let's get rambling. Oh, yeah. Talk to you guys later. Cheers.